Welcome back to our podcast. Why do we teach? Chapter 10. So I have with me Miss Ananike, Jalen, and Miss Nimley. This week's chapter is use of student learning evidence. And the objectives for this week chapter are number one, create tracking systems for students to use to record their assessment data. Number two, select the types of portfolios best suited to your students' needs. Number three, prepare students to reflect on their learning progress. So I'll be starting us off with discussing some of our objectives. And my objective is create tracking systems for students to use to record their assessment data. And a method I would implement is pretty much to create a visual model for the students so they can see their own achievement process. And the data would be based upon the students having their own like goals made on like a spreadsheet, or if they want to do like a board goal tracker. And I would make sure they share that with me so that way I can keep that updated at the end of the week and then reflect it on a journal board for the classroom. And this will give the students goal tracker will help them record their own progress and reflect on their own growth over time, and also take responsibility for their own learning progress to help keep them on track. And I think like over time this will teach especially the younger students those essential skills to maintain their academics, so that way when they get older and further in higher education they become more responsible about where they're at as far as their academics. And this also demonstrates a change from the teacher being the main like data assessment grade tracker. It allows students to grade themselves as well. So that is my objective, Miss Sananike. It's your turn. And Miss Nimley, y'all want to speak something on your objectives?
All right. Well, actually, what you said ties very well into the next one, which is to select the types of portfolios best suited for your students' needs. Because like you said, the idea of tracking is just so that the student has a way, and for one is accountable, but also can see in real time like their progress, and ideally is willing to have that conversation with you as the educator to get them to where they need to be if they are not. So there are four main types of the portfolios. It's celebration, growth, project, and achievement. The first one, celebration, is designed to showcase the best work or what the student is most proud of. This is mainly useful for younger students. I feel like it's like the star on the board. I remember my fifth grade teacher, she had like all the projects like listed on a board, and then when you finished one, you put a star next to it. And I'm not gonna lie, in fifth grade, I was very lazy. I remember my teacher being like, "You don't notice how you don't have any stars?" And I'm like, uh And then actually I was on the verge of failing the fifth grade. She was like, "Look, you have to do the biggest projects from each one and then you'll pass." And I was like, "Okay." And then I did them, and yeah, it was very hard. I remember pushing myself, but I went through and I became a better student afterwards. I said, "Oh wait, I actually have to do my work." So anyway, so yeah, but anyway, useful for younger students, and it builds confidence and helps them recognize the ability the quality is on their own. Two, growth. It focuses on progress over time. The purpose is to show progress toward one or more learning targets. The valuable for demonstrating improvement and surrounding reflection as it aligns students to compare earlier and later work. So it just shows them, like I said, focuses on progress over time. Where were you at the beginning versus at the end? Um, Project, which is the third one, is documents the steps in completing a task over time, includes the drafts and revisions. It helps students understand processes and develop and planning skills. So I remember using that a lot in my English classes when we would have to do, or just ELA in general, when we had to do a draft, first revision, second draft, edit, and then the final draft. I remember that doing that over and over and over for each essay, for each I guess I'm let's say, I don't want to say subject, not learning target, each objective, I guess, within the semester. I just remember doing that. And yeah, so that's projects. And then the last one is achievement, which is to demonstrate the level of achievement with respect to one or more learning targets. This one is very useful for a summative evaluation. Um, so yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to say there. I have some more, but I'll let Nimley speak for a second.
So I'm just gonna reiterate the objective, which is select the type of portfolio that best fits your student needs. For me, with health and PE, and I had to look into it. Um, the best one that fits and that I have been using for quite a while is like performance portfolio. The reason why is with PE, the goal is to have kids up and moving, and you don't want to lose their movement time because that's what PE is really designed for. And so being able to use like that kind of style within PE is best because you can track their running performance, their skill level, if they are having a developmental issue going on. Um, the another reason why is because it's not taking away much time from instruction, keeping them moving, but you can utilize that portfolio one because it gives them enough time to have movement going on, and two it's not as long compared to other style. So that's what suits my area of teaching best because you want to accommodate students being able to move around and get as much physical activity going on.
That is excellent. I love how you tied it into your specific grade. I didn't even think about, well, not your grades, but your specific like subject matter. I feel like being science, I could kind of use any of them. Um, because like with celebration to showcase the best work, like if I guess that's the only one I probably can't do because most of the work is papers and exams and things like that. And which I know I would do that like with the class averages for a test. We had to put up the class average for each test and obviously whatever core had the best one, they would be proud of themselves. Because sometimes the cores would do a lot better. But outside of that, like I feel like growth would be a big one for me. Just because I'd be able to show because science is constantly piggybacking off the last thing learned. Like whenever I start teaching biology, it would be at first, let's say we talked about mitosis and we're talking about how a cell differentiates and becomes a brand new thing and become two new daughter cells. Then when I talk about meiosis, if you were lost during mitosis, you're going to be extremely lost during meiosis because that's just mitosis twice now. So it would be able to show like, well, you didn't understand it right here, but because we had to go over the steps and I had to bring you back, you now understand both, but now with an even deeper understanding with it now being with meiosis. So I feel like growth is probably going to be the main one I focus on, and then projects, of course. But the only other thing I wanted to talk about was like the main reason why you even need a lot of these what's it called? These portfolios is it increases and encourages like engagement and accountability as what Quashel said. Because the more effort that the student puts into this the portfolio, it actually allows them to have more ownership of it all because it is them tracking and seeing themselves as a student. So it's also all on us to make sure that we select the right portfolio type. Like what you said, you're more performance and I would be more growth. It's like if I wanted to do more of the celebration, like it would be me just giving these kids candy for no reason because it's just there's not I shouldn't say there's not much to celebrate, but I feel like in my core, it would be a lot better for me to have a growth portfolio in comparison. So you have to make sure you select the right one and ensure that it actually serves your intended purpose, whether it's to build confidence, to showcase, whether it's to actually have a product at the end. But you have to be very mindful when it comes to planning. You can't just do any which one because, like I said, you could do it, but it if it's not going to bring anything to the table, you're just doing and extra planning, the kids will probably see it as like, what am I even doing this for? Because kids can smell BS. They know when you just gave them some random thing just to just to give them time. Like, when you ever got word searches, like just randomly in class, you're like, oh, you just need me occupied. Like you don't care whether or not I finish this. So it's like kids can smell when you're just doing stuff and when it really doesn't matter. So let's make sure that it actually has intent and can actually like serve its purpose.
Awesome. Well said. I had objective number three, preparing students to reflect on their learning progress. So basically, this means helping them learn, helping them improve on what they've learned and what they're still working on and how they can get better. So instead of us just doing all the evaluating and stuff, students can take a role in noticing their own growth. So for us, this could be us modeling a simple reflection question and giving them clear goals and creating routines where students can just pause and think about their performance. For me in PE class, after practicing throwing and catching, since this is the last week of basketball, y'all, I will ask students to rate themselves using like a simple scale, like, can I do this well? Am I good at this, or am I still improving on this? And what can I do better today than what I did last time? Or what will I try better next time? So this helps them connect their effort with improvement and makes their learning feel more personal rather than just completing activities. So that's all I have. Sorry, y'all, it's not much, but it's what I learned. Sorry, guys. That's all.
My bad. I think you guys all have some great objectives and good points. So we're gonna move on to our reflection part. I do have reflection number one, which is which ideas in this chapter did you find most convincing or useful and why? So after reading this chapter, I find collecting evidence for a portfolio is the most useful and convincing because it demonstrates over the course term what a student has learned generally, and it also requires students to be visually like able to demonstrate on like a visual presentation or project, like, for instance, like I said, what they learned from the course. And it also allows the students to show various assessments they completed over time. It also helps them show specific examples of things that they find more like useful or convincing. And my favorite, like pretty much portfolio is the achievement status one. It's because it demonstrates the level of achievements that all the students are have completed over the course, and that is something that I would use in the classroom. I know that's kind of short, but I would say just overall, just using the portfolios and allowing the students to demonstrate and show what they learned over the course term.
See, that's awesome that you already know that you would use the achievement though, because with achievement, it, like I said, that biggest thing there was building confidence, like actually allowing them to see where they were and like where they were and how they got there. Because like I said, when I was in fifth grade, they had like the projects. I just remember that one because I remember not doing none of that work. And I remember her not saying anything to me until like March. And then I was like, oh, I thought we was cool. I thought we just I thought we both knew I wasn't doing anything. But so yeah. But after I actually finished the project and I actually got those stickers on like those bigger projects, I did feel proud of myself because she gave me a very short deadline to do a lot of work and I did it and I was like, you know what? I can do this. Like I can go to middle school and I can do my thing and I did. Like even my mom, I remember my mom telling me like when I got to high school, she was like, "Yeah, I don't know what you were doing in elementary school." Like like elementary school, but then you got to middle school and then like you were fine. I was like, oh, I thought I was good. So think yeah. I wish maybe the teachers should have done the achievement for me more often because I
Hmm.
don't know what it was about in fifth grade when Miss Dixon, I know I hated her too. Anyway, I remember like when she did that, that helped me at least. Um, but with my reflection, I was supposed to be talking about like how this chapter aligns with my beliefs or goes against it. And it does not go against it at all. It aligns perfectly because um this is all about like helping the student become a better student. This is about how they become more confident. This is how they get better at tracking. This is how they become accountable for their learning. And that is all very important aspects to have as a student. Like we're all on a master's program at this point. You don't get here because you're like, oh no, I'm a bad student and oh, I can't, I have no idea how I even did. Like you have to have some sort of like ability to learn and know yourself, right? So, and like I said, the biggest thing is like accountability because it's like I said, with my fifth grade, I knew I wasn't doing the work. I just thought it was fine. So as soon as she started holding me accountable for like, hey, you don't have any stickers up here. Look at your peers. They all have stickers. What is going on? You need to do this work. I was like, oh, and it actually kicked in for me. So like this is a very, very, I feel like this is important. I feel like with this, let me finish that first sentence. I feel like this is important because it is showing the student that yes, I am the teacher, but you are the student and it's your responsibility to try to learn. I'm going to do my best up here teaching, but you still need to be accountable for what you need to do. And I feel like that's what this honestly slowly throughout this course, that's kind of what it's been showing us, right? Was at the beginning like, okay, how do we assess whether or not the students are even learning? What type of tests can we give them? How can we? And then like it started moving from like, okay, how do we assess how they learn? Okay, how do we use that assessment data and actually figure out what they learned and help them get to where they need to be? And now here it's like, okay, we have the data, we know where they need to be. How are we going to help them now see how they're going to track and how they're going to get there? So I feel like this is honestly I almost like I don't know. I wish somebody would write this book as like an actual book, like something I could just read, not like all these chapters with vocabularies and like a textbook. I want like a book of somebody is like going through this because I feel like that would be a really, really good read. But yes, this aligns with my beliefs with how this teacher-student relationship should be. It should be, yes, I am teaching, but you are learning and I am accountable for you, but you are also accountable because I feel like that we're losing a lot of that in schools. I know for sure the 2 years that I was in the classroom, I had accountability in there because I would talk to the students that weren't doing too well, but I didn't have these tools, and I almost wish I would have because I can already think of some students that would have gained because our IEP students and our 504 students would gain a lot, whether it's ADHD, reading disabilities, anything like I feel like they could gain from something like this because especially I like I said, I could think of students and and how stuff like this would have helped me if I had the tools. So yeah.
Awesome. Yay, yay, yay. I had reflection number 3. What ideas from the chapter feel most useful or most confident in using? I would say having students set small goals and reflecting on them regularly. So for me, this was like the most what's the good word? The most one I would rather use because it's I don't have to use a lot of materials and students can take ownership of their learning and also keep them focused and moving. Like Miss Lele said, they're in PE, so they have to stay moving. So for me, this would be like having students work on their dribbling and catching, and then by the end of class, reflect on it. Like, what are things they can improve on, or how can they get better? And also put them in partners so they can feedback off each other and help each other if needed. But that's what I would feel most useful in using. I'm sorry, guys, my answers are so short, but that's what I got.
All right. For me, my reflection questions number 4. What part of this chapter makes you feel uncertain, nervous, or hesitant about applying in practice? For me, like I said earlier, with health and PE, and I keep saying that because it's a little bit difficult being in a classroom with general ed students versus being in a PE because we see everybody in the building. So we have to make sure that instructional time is met. So whatever we are using as far as like assessment or even whatever we use in a classroom, we have to make sure that it doesn't take away time from movement. So what makes me feel uncertain is one, time management. Um, because classes are short. It's about now it's like 45 minutes for us because we went on an A through G day schedule. Don't ask me why. But so
Same.
class time, right. Class time is short. And then most of the time that we spend is on movement and activities. So that's one thing I'm a little bit uncertain about because I want my kids to be able to get that because I don't think people realize that some students leave school and don't even go outside to play after that. They just because some of them are I work at a Title I school. Some of them are homeless. They don't
Mhm.
have the most activity time they have is at school.
Mhm.
Some parents don't allow them to play outside because they don't have time, mom and dad at work. So siblings taking care of each other. You don't know how much physical activity they're getting. So I'm really empowered by making sure my students have that at the same time as well, try to track as much data. So that is one uncertain thing about me. And then keeping students engaged. Like you don't want to have too much documentation and you lose their engagement. They don't
Mhm.
they lose the love for being in PE. We all know that they all want to go to PE versus the other encore classes. So as a PE teacher, you love that because you want to keep that actually makes you want to keep doing what you're doing when you know that they engage and you know that they like you versus the other
Mhm.
encore teacher. But and then balancing instructions and documentation. Like I don't want to waste too much time on tracking and take away from active time. So the shortest way I try to find for my student. That's why we had now with CMS PE teacher, we have a smart board in the classroom. It's portable. I can move it wherever I want. So I would like create Google Slides, something simple that's engaging, that have them answering questions like short answer questions, like stuff like that. So that way it's visual and it doesn't take too much of their time to get paper and pencils to answer things. No, no, ma'am. We're in 2026. We try to find the most efficient way
Mhm.
for students. So those are the three things that make me very uncertain when it comes down to that. I also have the conclusion for chapter 10. And in my conclusion, I'm just going to summarize pretty much what all of this is about. Overall, chapter 10 show me and by listening to everyone that learning is not just about completing activities. Um, it's about students understanding their own progress. I feel like that's what is important. And just listen to Adenike, finding what's best fits your classroom. I know she talked about celebration, didn't quite really work for her. She wasn't really motivated. So as a teacher, when you see that a certain kids, certain things is not working, so are you like, how do you reach out to that student instead of keep allowing them to keep on going and then you find out that they are not doing so well. Um, and then I noticed that someone else talk about achievement works for them, like building confidence. I noticed that does work in PE too, achievement, because they want to see how well they have done, especially when we teach them like, no, Miss Nimley, did you see that? Did you see that? Sometimes I would tell them no, I didn't see it because I wanted to do it again. Like show me. So that works on some students and some students just don't care. So how do you as a teacher, how do you work with that? Are you going to alter it for that 10% or how do you incorporate that into the 10% that's not doing so well with that? Um, and then I noticed couple of things that we'll talk about is like one way to counteract performance portfolio is like setting routines, making sure that they're short and meaningful, especially within PE. You don't want to give them too much and you don't want to take away too much time. And then starting small. I think the biggest thing is starting routine, working with just because I will see everyone in the building, I realize what really work is setting routines. Once kids are set into routines, you start to build off of that. And that is really the foundation to it because once they get your routine, it's easy to move around. It doesn't take much time away from instruction and stuff like that, assessment, because they know the routine. Because when they're not in a routine, you're taking time to teach the routine and stuff like that. So you want to build that. But overall, um, reflects of their performance and collect evidence of their learning, they become more independent, motivated, and responsible learners. That conclude chapter 10. I am Jasuli Nimley. And
Can I just comment on
yes,
something that you just said that I didn't
uh-huh.
think about? Was incorporating the tracking into the routine.
Mhm.
That is very, very smart. I don't know why I did not think of that because they literally teach you all have a routine, have a routine. When they walk to your classroom, do now, 5 minutes when the timer goes off, this, that, like have a routine. And I don't know why to even think about it because with something like a growth, because like I said, growth is probably just gonna be the easiest for me. That could be something that either is like the ticket out the door, like, hey, we write in our like our tracking journals or whatever to connect it back to either last week or the week before that, where we talked about journaling. Um, or like in their journals, maybe like there is a tracking page to where that's where they're writing down was like, oh, on this assessment, I got this grade. It's because I got this idea wrong. This is a really, really cool thing. Or if we have like just like a day for maybe tracking and journaling, like where we just like and like how we have a test day or on test day, that's also our journal day because kids always finish the test really quick. You might give them 30 minutes, you still have another hour. I'm thinking about, I guess, for myself. And maybe like an English or history, because PE, I know that's just something you, for one, you get less time. Two, the things that you have to record are just
That's why.
often, yeah, physical things that you actually have to watch, not too many. I guess not too many book things. Like I remember taking tests in PE, and even as a student, I was always like, "What the heck are we doing here?"
That's why I
Like,
said that you have to be considerate of why the reason why they are in there. Let's just be
yeah.
honest. They are here to be active moving
Mhm.
because we all know the foundation of PE is because they had issue with child obesity.
Yeah.
Um and that's one of the reasons why they made it mandatory because of that. And so instead of taking all, like, I understand now they're trying to make it more look more like a classroom, but you have to also remember the real reason why PE was set into place to get kids actively up
Yeah.
and moving. And so, with all of that being said, yes, it's good to track this assessment, this is da da da, but make sure that it doesn't take away from the active time,
Yeah.
doesn't take away from them moving around. And like I said, some students don't have the opportunity to go home and play outside, still get extra recess or activity. Their only activity to have is at school. Because I remember my old school I used to work at, this one kid was like, Miss Lemmy, I'm so glad to be in your class again. Because he was like, when I go home, I don't get a chance to go outside. I'm always in the house, my mom, working this and that, which melt my heart because
Yeah.
some of them look forward to that because they don't get that outside of the
Yeah.
school.
I'm
And
about to say
so,
no. I'm about to say it's iPad kids now.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
We used to
Like,
play
I feel the
outside.
same with
yeah, we
that.
used to
Like,
play
yeah.
We used to
outside.
play
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
and
like,
outside.
I
your
did.
grandma be like, "Do not come back in until it's time to have like lunch or something."
Yeah, but these, and I mean, I feel like, but we also didn't grow up in times of like where screens were really like
Really,
imperative to
Right.
society. You know what
accessible.
I mean? Like we had TVs, like we might have just had our computers, might be on MySpace, the beginnings of Facebook, taking care of your little farm or like
Oh,
things like that.
but
We
I
all,
not the
I
farm.
noticed,
know y'all had Farmville, right? So it's just
right,
like that was our screen time, but nowadays like they have everything. Like some of these kids be whole like social media like they like
Influencers.
in the mix. Like even if it's just like their own community, but it's just like their entire school knows what they were doing yesterday because that's just how big they are on social media just within their community. So I feel like that's a big factor, as well as, like I feel like parents are very scared to have their kids outside nowadays, you know what I mean? Like, what if someone
right,
takes you? Da,
right,
da, da, da. And I was like, I
right.
feel you. But let's be real, most kids don't get kidnapped. Majority of children
When they
do
follow the
not
rules.
get kidnapped. Of all the children in
Mhm.
this world, let's like, yes, there are those said yes, always be careful, but
Mhm.
also like, make sure your kid has like awareness. That's actually my
Mhm.
sister. She's a therapist, and one of her clients is like terrified of her child like going anywhere without her. And it's like the child's like 13, and this is in New York City. When I was in New York City growing up, when I was 10 years old, when I was 10 years old, I was getting on the bus and traveling the city by myself. So for
Really?
me to hear,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I mean that, but that was like that's just what you did. Like you got a
Times
Metro
are different
card,
now.
you got a Metro card, you went to school. Like that was that. Like it wasn't like I wasn't the only one. I had friends that I would ride the bus with because that's just so it's like to hear that. But then she's like, but then this is also the same child that don't know how to brush their teeth. And yes.
Tie your shoes. How you in fifth grade can tie your shoes?
So it's just like a lot of these parents, sad to say, are not preparing their students for the world. So it is like, yes, keep them at home. If you're not going to prepare them for the world, yeah, you're going to have to keep them at home because they're just, it's not going to work out. Sorry, that was a long tangent on nothing. Like it connected, but it didn't. But yes, I'm glad to hear. But it seems like we always come back to this planning thing. Like, is this class just about planning? Is that the title of this class, planning?
Planning and
Because it might as well
routine. I
be.
just feel like routine
Mhm.
is the great because when my
Yeah.
kids come in, what is the moment I ask, what is the routine?
Yeah.
We've
Mm.
been doing this for from the beginning of the school years. What is the routine? Please
Yeah.
don't ask me that question again. You already
Yep.
know the routine.
Yeah. I always hated that. Walking in, what do you want me to do? I was like, you see how that board says do now? What do you what do you think? What do you think I mean by that?
But
Like,
I
this is
will
serious.
say, because I have kindergarten, well, I see everybody. Kindergarten normally responds better to technology. I have noticed that. When you stand in front of them and just
That's them
talking,
COVID babies.
yes,
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
their mind.
That's them COVID
They
babies.
are.
They listen,
But
put an
when you turn
iPad, a
that smart
screen,
board
locked in.
on,
Yep.
oh
You're
my
right.
gosh. They are listening, looking. I say, you know what? I need to incorporate more technology with the younger
But
generation.
are you saying that they still listen to you though? Like that's not an issue that you're following? Like
The
if you
pro-
like it's like if you have the iPad or whatever that they have like in front of them, like they'll follow along with your instruction? Interesting.
versus me just standing up there with no visual or nothing, just talking. They twirling
Oh, they
around,
lose.
rolling
Oh,
around.
Yep.
that's
It's the
almost
screen.
scary. That's almost scary. That's good to know because eventually
But
they're gonna
let
they
me
gonna
put
make their
on
way up to me.
a
But
brain break activity on YouTube. A brain break activity on YouTube. They are ready to
They
go, girl.
screaming.
They are yes.
wow.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Like I
They're like,
said,
Miss
scary but
Little, Miss
nice to
Little.
know.
Just put yourself on the screen and then just
Oh yeah, maybe record yourself ahead of time and boop, there you
Start
go.
doing that. Start doing a technology lesson with the younger kids.
Yeah.
Because a parent, and I started because we do reading pull out groups. So I'm thinking about starting to incorporate PE within the like the reading pull out groups. Because I was like, you guys are not paying me to be a reading specialist to teach, so I'm
Right.
going to
No.
incorporate PE into whatever it
Mm.
is you guys want me to do. So I'm
Mm.
now I try to like put it on the screen, but like I use exercises on the screen, like what is this answer sound, or what, do
Okay.
the exercise that you think what that connects with the sound and stuff like that.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead. ELA.
Mhm.
ELAPE.
Look
Okay.
at
But
you
yeah.
smiling.
Alrighty, we about to run out of time.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
But
yeah, I recognize that though about kindergarten. Kindergarten, they
interesting.
are definitely technology, baby. I think over a couple of years from now, most of the kids will be like technology learners. Like you have to
Mhm.
show them versus standing and just talking.
Like I said, that's like I don't know. I feel like that's gonna be a good thing if a teacher uses it well, but I've
Mhm.
seen some lazy teachers in my day. And
Mm-hmm.
that is more so what I'm worried about. Like I had she actually literally retired the next year, but she was a resource teacher. She was an EC teacher, ELA. Been teaching 30 years. That's the reason she was finna retire. She got her 30, right? And she was legit just like reading books to them, like reading books out loud. Like not have they did not have a copy that they were following along to. She was reading them aloud. They were watching like Little Bill in there and things like yes, like they were like watching TV in there. And she did not fray. Like even when she was getting watched, like in the principal had to watch her lessons, everything, them kids would be watching TV with her sitting in there. And like we were just like, she did that in front of you. She's like, yes, like that was her lesson that she decided to have on the day that I watched her. And then she retired the next year. So, I hope that I don't know if
She
that's
already had
like
a plan.
Yeah, I
She
was
was
like,
like,
Yeah.
I really hope this was you just like, being done. But also, like, I do know that there are people out there that's just like, here's this YouTube video that teaches this lesson. Here's questions, answer them, and that's your assessment for the day. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Um, so it's a
you're
good
right.
thing. It's a good thing that they can learn on technology, but it's also like,
Yeah, but
not for them to take advantage of.
I always do both. Like first I show
Yeah,
them, and then next we get up and start moving and doing it. And that normally works with kindergarten because you got to give them some kind of visual to understand, and then you talk to them, demonstrate what it is that we are doing. But then also to a kindergarten, it has to be short.
yeah,
You can't give them too much. I think
yeah,
like being an encore teacher, you learn how to work with different grade levels. Like
yeah.
you, with the
From the
younger
baby
ones, you can't
babies
give
to
them
the
too
almost
much.
ready to be on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, we literally got about to run out of time. So I'm gonna say
Alrighty,
bye bye.
guys.
Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.